So, Mädels.
As a senior in high school, he played in the McDonald's Classic, the nation's premier school.
18-year-old Michael Jordan sent him a scary message. Gucken wir mal rein.
Schoolboy All-Star game, and he responded with some dazzling moves.
He plays so hard in every game, every time he steps on the floor.
You know, a lot of guys picked on me, and they would joke about my haircut and the way that I played my tongue out.
Michael Jordan is very determined and very competitive.
How times have changed, huh?
It's changed.
Leute haben sich über seinen Haircut lustig gemacht? Das stimmt halt. Deswegen denke ich auch, das Golden State Warriors werden Champion. Das weil Steph immer für eine Überraschung zu haben ist.
It is well known in high school that Michael Jordan was cut from his varsity basketball team as a sophomore and used that as motivation to vanquish everyone in his path on the way to becoming the greatest player to ever live. But what often gets forgotten is Jordan's first rival, the first man he had to take down on his mission to become the greatest. Because if there is one thing that
Da gibt es einen Motherfucker, mit dem er da, also der wäre halt auch übelst wild in der NBA gewesen, aber ich will da nicht zu viel vorwegnehmen.
Now, it is that Michael Jordan takes things personal. And the very first case of this may be found in his own personal rivalry with Aubrey Sherrod, considered by many the top guard in the nation, ahead of Mike Jordan. So what's up guys, Mike here, and today we have something that I did not even expect.
Gerade an komplett wen anders gedacht, Digga. Jemanden, der zu den Bostons gedraftet wurde, Digga. Len Bias hieß der? Len Bias, glaube ich, Bruder. Der war, also, der war so auf Michael Jordan-Niveau, wo er am Anfang, also wo die beiden angefangen haben. Ne, Michael Jordan natürlich besser geworden irgendwann, aber das war der erste Rivalry, aber den Typen habe ich noch nie gehört.
Expect to find a brand new Michael Jordan story. Because yes, today we are diving into Michael Jordan's first rival ever. And as you're about to see, the origins of Michael Jordan started here in high school, and then, well, for his rival, things didn't exactly end well. Michael Jordan's high school days are easily the least talked about part of his career, which is not abnormal, but in Mike's case, it's a bit extreme. We only hear about how these days built him up. We hear about his absurd 5'8" to 6'6" growth spurt, but what really is never spoken about is how Jordan was not even the Associated Press's pick for the top high school player in just North Carolina. That was Buzz Peterson, his future teammate. And what's also often swept under the rug is Michael Jordan's nightmare of a state championship basketball game. Yes, the future GOAT would end his high school basketball career, seemingly choking away the entire game. As 9-year NBA veteran Kenny Gaddison, the star player on the other team, remembers, we had been down by as many as 10 or 11 points with a minute and 40 seconds to go. There was no shot clock. I don't remember what happened in those last 2 minutes. They could have dribbled the whole clock out. Somehow, we created turnover after turnover. It involved trapping Mike. Mike Jordan
Das hört sich aber sehr, sehr weird an.
would foul out of this game.
Ich kann mich nicht an die 2 Minuten erinnern, aber irgendwie haben wir Michael Jordan getrappt. Hä, Digga?
With 7 seconds left after he was called for an offensive foul on a jumper. He did not yet have the benefit of the call, it seems. Instead, what he did have was such a tremendously horrible feeling of pure misery due to this loss that he would truly take this with him forever. This feeling was so extreme that Kenny Gaddison clearly speaks on his own state championship win with regret. As Gaddison recalls, you gotta understand what fuels that guy, what makes him great. He took the pain of that loss and held on to it. It's a part that made him. He beat me 3 times. 2 of those were in my own gym. Then we win the 4th game, and to this day, I still feel bad about it. An interesting feeling after a state championship win.
Ja gut, er kann irgendwo vielleicht sagen, dass er Michael Jordan zu dem Mann gemacht hat, der am Ende wurde.
And guys, before we continue, I'm very excited to say that this video is sponsored by Manscaped, the global lifestyle brand that is now destroyed, along with the respect, clearly, was beginning in his high school days. That need to take every single loss on himself in a way that seemingly frightened people, to take that upon himself and force himself to become better. That is how Michael Jordan became Michael Jordan, but again, what often gets forgotten is his first rival. So enter the 1981 McDonald's All-American game, enter Aubrey Sherrod. Because at this point in time, people in the Kansas area certainly did not want to be like Mike, at least not yet. They were quite literally copying how Aubrey Sherrod was walking on a basketball court. Aubrey was seen by many as the #1 guard in America, as Michael Jordan was seen as a top 10 to maybe top 5 prospect. The word maybe for Michael Jordan was in there. Aubrey had earned this at this point though. He had gone to the 1981 Capitol Classic and had led a team of
Aber kannst dich als Mod auch nochmal bei Timmo bedanken, ne? Timmo ist der Beste. Kuss.
High school superstars to a win over another team of high school superstars led by a young future NBA Hall of Fame Patrick Ewing. Meanwhile, Michael Jordan was on Aubrey's team, and Aubrey outplayed him. Sherrod would finish with 20 points to Jordan's 14. Sherrod shot 9 of 13. Jordan shot 6 of 12. And many scouts were adamant. They believed in Sherrod over Jordan until the 1981 McDonald's All-American game, where Jordan would go out and score 30 points, hit the game-winning shot, and then somehow watched as Aubrey Sherrod was named the game's MVP. In this instance, this was not fair. Aubrey had scored just 19 points to Jordan's 30, but because the game was played in Kansas, Michael Jordan now had something new to take personal. This was certainly a strange strategy by McDonald's, as this All-Star game has seemingly been swept under the rug when we could have MVP photos of Michael Jordan and Patrick Ewing. As you could see, Aubrey Sherrod was just one of the very questionable decisions the McDonald's All-American Game voters made throughout the first 10 events for their MVPs. Somehow, out of the first 12 MVPs named, not a single player was ever an NBA All-Star. These rosters had mega stars on them. Jordan's game had himself and future Hall of Famers Chris Mullin and Patrick Ewing, who all three clapped on MVPs Adrian Branch and Aubrey Sherrod. Jordan, though, at this point was already turning heads as his raw talents were apparent to everyone, and his trash talk was there too. Mike would spend the McDonald's All-American Game practices telling Patrick Ewing that he was going to dunk on him every chance he could, and Pat would remember he was talking he was gonna dunk on me. He was dunking on me. As for the actual McDonald's game, I think this says it best. Michael Jordan got the ball and scored literally every time he came down the court. But again, no MVP for Jordan. It appears the McDonald's All-American Game MVP has had an incredibly strange history, actually. As again, 0 All-Stars whatsoever in the first 10 years, and then in the next 20, we had 7 current or future Hall of Famers picked, as we went from forgotten names to Shaq, LeBron, and Kevin Durant, and now, despite the prestige of the McDonald's All-American Game, we have not had a single MVP become an All-Star since 2007. Pretty mind-blowing, and Chris Mullin himself has said that Jordan was robbed for this McDonald's All-American Game MVP. But these were the moments that made Mike. These were the moments that knocked him down so that he was forced to build himself back up. But of course, after all these high school games had been completed, Michael Jordan would go to North Carolina, where Mike was ready to fully begin his journey as the GOAT. The journey we know that had at least a hint of perfection, 6 titles in 6 tries. No game 7s, and of course, the shot that launched everything. Because with the game on the line in the national championship as a freshman, Michael Jordan was ready to do this.
The time, 18.
Jordan would say that this shot gave him the confidence he needed to never doubt himself again.
This
gave him the confidence to become the greatest when the game was on the line. And how could it not? Freshman year national championship game winner after this shot.
Und das Schlimmste an diesen 20 Euro ist, dass ich davon, glaube ich, nur irgendwie 5 oder sowas bekomme. Das ist ein ganz komischer Split-DG. Deswegen machen wir entspannt mit diesen Stufe 3er, Bruder. Aber Kuss, alles gut.
That went in, it was over for everyone. And that included the man that he once strived to outpace in Aubrey Sherrod. As in a moment that certainly feels a bit personal.
Da muss ich kurz nochmal sagen, freut mich viel mehr, wenn ihr hier im Stream aktiv seid, als wenn ihr hier irgendwelche Subs raushaut und dann irgendwie nie wieder da seid. Wisst ihr, wie ich meine? Ich habe lieber jemanden hier, mit dem ich unterhalten kann, als wenn ich alleine Videos gucke.
Remember, Jordan was taken in 1984 by, of course, the Chicago Bulls. And by the time his rookie season was over, he was not just the face of the Bulls, he was already one of the biggest faces of the NBA. And would you guess who the Chicago Bulls took with the 34th pick in the 1985 draft? And would you guess who was cut before ever playing a single NBA minute by Michael Jordan's team? A full circle moment that Jordan had to have realized the significance of. Watching the man who was once a top guard in America over him get cut by his own team. Wow. To Aubrey's credit, every word I've read about that man speaking on Michael Jordan has sounded like he is nothing but very, very happy for Mike. No animosity at all on his end, which is how Michael Jordan rivalries seem to end. So there we have it, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for supporting. If you're already subscribed, you are the man. Thank you.
Gegen den er es im College nicht geschafft hat, vorbeizukommen, um selber im College-Team zu landen, Digga, wird am Ende bei den Bulls, ein Jahr später, nachdem er selber gedraftet wurde, also nicht mal zu seiner Primetime, sondern einfach ein Jahr, nachdem er gedraftet wurde, wird er einfach selber gecuttet, der Typ. Bruder, also die Welt ist ein Dorf, ohne Scheiß, Digga.